Welcome to another episode of Queued Up. And of course, you have me solo today, Casey Zeman here. Henry is not available. His schedule was crazy, and I had to change the times on this. So that's why you guys get me, just me. That's it, solo guy today. But I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the questions that we commonly get, floating through that we've compiled so that I can answer some of these rapid fire questions that we typically get. And by the way, if you're coming in, you can always feel free to ask any questions in the chat next to me here, and I can answer anything just, anytime. Just let me know. Bam, bam, bam. I could do it. Throw it in the chat, and we can hop on there as well. So again, this is for you if you are someone who has been trying to scale up your sales and marketing. You're someone who, wants to sort of rise above the noise with your sales and marketing and branding and ways to be able to generate more predictable revenue while at the same time training and educating your customer base to lower churn, to keep attrition down, and to keep adoptability up. This is also for you. We're going to show you how to get customers, keep customers, and of course how to scale all that up, leveraging the power of on online events and webinars. And so if you're here today, let us know. Go ahead and put it in the chat. And if you're not, then don't worry about it. But if you are coming in, let us know. So let me go through some of these quick rapid fire questions that oftentimes we get. And I may only get through some of them. We're only going to be doing this for about 20, 30 minutes. So yes. So, if you do come in, you'll probably watch the replay. And of course, you can comment on this particular video. And by the way, if you're someone who wants to get a webinar framework, just DM us attached to this particular stream. Just DM me, send me the framework, and we'll show you how you can get access to a framework that's worth $500, but yours for free when you come into one of our nifty workshops. So be sure to do so. Can't wait to see you, and let's get started. So a question that we've gotten recently is, what's a low cost or no cost action I can take right now to get sales? Okay, well, that's a great question. A lot of times people are like, I just need sales now. What is the fastest way to do it where I don't have to worry about all the friction involved in having to do a bunch of setup stuff? Here's one thing. Here's one way you do it. You see what we're doing right now? We're literally pushing into all these live stream applications. One thing that you can do is leverage live streaming to put yourself into in front of your audience. Whether you have a Facebook page, whether you have even going into your Facebook news feed, quite frankly, is always a strong way to go, because chances are you have people there who follow you, and not just your friends, doing so. Like maybe you're already having a strategy where you're encouraging friends as well as business colleagues to follow you on Facebook, or maybe YouTube, or maybe LinkedIn. So being able to push out content to those platforms with clear call to actions that drive people into potentially booking a call with you, getting on the calendar with you, is a super smart way to do it. This way, it's almost like the shortest way to revenue by basically calling out people to say, listen, if you want me to help you do X, Y, and Z, I can do so. Let's book a call. I would say that's probably one of the most fundamental, fastest ways to do it. When I first started out, it was webinars, and it was running consistent weekly live webinars. And it's not like I had like a whole framework that I was using. I was more so just like running live webinars and posting them on Facebook, creating a Facebook event, and getting people and inviting a whole bunch of people, and telling them, here's why I think you should show up. I'm going to give you this stuff for free, blah, blah, blah. And then they would show up, and I'd get on and I just share what I learned, maybe the week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before about X, Y, and Z, farther along than, of course, my audience is. And they could to take that information, use it and apply it. And because I gave them value, oftentimes I would say, if there's any, if you would like me to work with you further, just direct message me. And oftentimes I get people direct messaging me. And then that was how I propelled into actually selling a course, by having people write to me. So I think that, the fastest thing you could do is use the platforms that you have people on, that are out there right now, that are maybe following you, maybe doing something, consuming some sort of content from you, or at least, if you put up a baby picture or something, you get 50 likes or something like that. I think that's a decent indication that you can do something on that particular page. You know what I mean? So, even putting out there, I call this the 3 C's. Is 3 C's is like, it's communication, convert, and close. Communication is like putting something out there that, the problem that you solve, right? So it's like, hey, I have a story that I want to tell you that I had recently with someone who did this, this, and this, and it was really annoying hearing how that person was told by somebody else that they needed to achieve. The only way to get results was to do this. Whereas me, I when they finally came back to me and they weren't achieving the results, they were frustrated and overwhelmed and they wanted to quit. And then I talked to them, and then what we were able to do is finally get them on a track of results. They got the results, and this is how they got it. If you are someone who wants something similar, if you want to finally get the results and stop doing the thing that you think you need to do, and start to do the thing that actually gets the result, right? This is kind of throwing stones at sort of like maybe an early model or an early method that you now have. You now have a more modern method that's going to get them results, right? That's kind of the idea here. Then you leave an open question about, hey, if you're interested in this, I have, maybe you could say, I have a free PDF guide that I want to give you. Just let me know if you're interested, and put in the messages below, I'm in, and I'll send that PDF guide over to you, right? So that's kind of one way to do it. You can also you can also start with a question like that, a conversation like that, to create the conversation, and then have people direct message you to follow up with that conversation, and then you get them on the phone and you convert them into basically becoming a client. So it doesn't have to be rocket science to be able to actually bring these things in. But I would say the fastest way, again, coming back to it, that's a low cost, in fact, no cost way to do things. Streaming right to Facebook, and or YouTube Live, that can be a very powerful instrument for actually closing deals, right? And again, stemming from the fact of webinars being that one thing. And I ran weekly live webinars, and my goal was like, if I can get 30 people on a weekly live webinar, I know I can convert 3 of them into $1,000 product. And that way I knew that I could generate about $12,000 in sales a month, just in one webinar per week. That's an hour long, right? So that was my focus, and that's what I focused on. And I was able to do that with a very, 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 very tight budget. And that was what we did. The fastest way to learn more about my audience: ask questions. What are you going to do? You're going to go study your audience. Can you go into an encyclopedia and study your audience? Can you go into Google and study your audience? Can you go to ChatGPT and study your audience? Yes, because they're pulling in from a few different resources that probably put that information out there. But the best way for you to learn more about your audience is to ask the question. Survey the source, I always say, survey the source. Go back and find out what that audience is needing. You have an audience. If you have an audience right now, maybe you have a Facebook group, maybe you have an email list, whatever you may have. If you're not surveying them to find out what their goals, their needs are, what their needs are, what their hopes are, what their aspiring to do and what their fears are, what is holding them back. These things will help you to know exactly what your audience is needing, wanting, and desiring right now. And by having that information, you can of course meet them where they are, and of course now you can speak their language a bit more, right? Okay, that's a great question. We have another question. Are pay to play opportunities for lead gen legit? Well, yeah. Pay to play in the sense of, if we're talking about pay to play in paid ads, let's say, paid ads are all about how do you get an ROI? That's the question that you should be asking. How do I get an ROI, and how do I, so I can scale up my ads? Um, Now, there are other pay to play opportunities that, like, as an example, you may pay someone 20, $30,000 and they can email your offer to their email list. Maybe they have a 500 to a million person email list, and now you're trying to drive people, let's say, to a webinar. You pay them 30, 50,000, drive them to a webinar, and now it's up to you to try to do the selling. So there is a little level of risk. There is a level of risk because you need to be able to figure out how you can gain ROI. Pay to play is all about reverse engineering an ROI process. How do I achieve a return on my investment from this thing I'm going to spend money on? Whether it's you sponsoring an event, and paying $5,000 for a booth, or up to, geez, man, I mean, I've spent $50,000 on building this beautiful booth at this conference, and at the end of the day, it absolutely did not help in the sense of, we didn't we didn't get customers from the event. And it was interesting because, that was something I was like, oh well, we didn't really achieve an ROI. But one thing that we did achieve, and here's an interesting thought on this, is that once we did that live, we had a beautiful booth and we were out there and doing our thing. But that event, they oversold us on how many people were going to be there, what kind of people they were. It was just bad in that sense. However, the benefits were that the all my team was together. We had a beautiful, easy webinar booth, and while at the same time, we also had our videographers there, and so we were shooting video constantly. We were shooting video when someone would come up to the booth. We were shooting video of me inviting people to a webinar at the booth. Right? We were. What else were we doing? We leveraged that content over and over and over again. We used that social proof of the booth to help generate sales and revenue. So, I oftentimes, you see that you may spend money on something. You have to see if there's a hard ROI, and also almost like an assisted ROI, so to speak. How did this investment assist in ROI in some other fashion, right? So, that's where that booth, actually, we did see some benefit to that, because it was because we were able to leverage those assets that we created over and over again. So, in the sense of, if you get people, let's say, registered for a webinar, and you paid somebody 20, 30,000 for access to their email list, and they were able to get you 3 to 4,000 registrants on a webinar, but the webinar bombed, let's say, whatever happened, maybe, the tech went down or something. Now all of a sudden, with that, now you have, yes, it happens, but now at the very least, also, you have 4,000 customers, or 4,000 people on an email list that you now get to email, right? You can actually reach out and connect with them and all sorts of stuff. So there's benefit to that. And that's an asset that you can now go back to over and over again, right? So that is a good thing. So anyway, pay to play opportunities, yes, they're legit. they're not, that you have, it's hard to find the ROI, and you have to think about the ROI and how do you reverse engineer it. And also, how do you think of hard ROI and like almost like assisted ROI. Okay. Here's a good one. What are the features every good ad should have? Yeah. I think that I always look at like what is the top of the food chain. I think the top of the food chain is going to be video. So being able to create an ad and then a video that talks to your audience specifically, calls them out and says, "Hey, Coach Consultant, if you've been trying to gain more revenue and you notice that you've been having an issue with growth on a consistent monthly basis, I have a 5-step system that I want to invite you to, where in those 5 steps, I'm going to show you the fastest way to growth in the next 30 days. Go ahead and click, so a video can oftentimes give people the fastest way to see the possibility. A good video has continuity on the message a good ad has continuity in a video, continuity in the description, right? And then it has good continuity on the page that you're sending them to, let's say, right? And I always look at that, like, because the best results that we've ever had is where there was a common experience from the ad to where they're going, right? When there's been disassociation with it, where the ad speaks on something and then that goes to a page that doesn't feel the same in terms of continuity, those ads oftentimes don't work as well, right? But when we've seen is when there's a good stream of continuity from, and you maybe even see the same person, maybe you even see a second video that goes into more detail on the like a registration page, let's say, or some sort of landing page of some kind with maybe a video sales letter on it that expands on what the person did in the ad. That oftentimes can do well. But when there's a disassociation where, an ad that then goes to a page that you don't feel the same branding, that can cause a problem. So I'd say, and I'm not an ads person, so I would say that's the thing I can speak on the most, is that, you want to be able to grab someone's attention within the first few seconds, right? So you're going to tell them, what they're experiencing, the pain they're experiencing. You're asking them, are you suffering from this? So I'm going to be sharing with you this in this workshop. And this is like a 30-second to 1-minute video, basically, right? Okay. Okay. I love my ads, but I don't think they're getting in front of the right people. How do I fix it? Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's communication. It's like, what are you communicating? And oftentimes, if you're communicating a clear message and a clear problem that you solve, then you should be able to find the audience, right? In a video, when in an ad, I always think it's important to like call out who it's for, what you're solving, and and then the result, right? An ad that maybe, like, as an example, if you're talking about, if you're jumping straight to a solution, right, without them knowing that solution is going to solve X problem, and you're not highlighting X problem, then they're not going to come in. Like, you have to be, if that, that your customer's problem is like as an example, maybe your problem might be consistent revenue, right? Revenue of getting more customers and revenue in your business, right? And I use that and say, hey, are you having problems with your revenue coming in consistently? And I talk about, hey, it's not your fault. Right now we're in a world where content is coming in a mile a minute, and you're probably getting lost in the fray. Just you as a human in your conversation going out there, or simple emails and things like that just don't cut it anymore. And you have to rise above the noise with your message. And that's where we come in. So we are so-and-so, right? Easy Webinar, Q'd, whatever you want to say. And we help businesses achieve bigger, better results by increasing their revenue and customer base through the power of online events. And we have a 5-step system that we're going to teach you when you come into this workshop, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Right. So, um, so again, you have to, the way that you get in front of the right people is you have to say the right message to get in front of the right people. So first it's about saying the right message, and then it's also about maybe and again, this is your for ads. You have to also put your ads in front of the people that need you the most, and that's where interest groups and being able to put pre-roll ads on particular videos in YouTube, let's say, are very more strategic, that you have to sort of think about, like, where are your who is your audience? Coaches, consultants are, and this is their biggest problem. Who do they already follow that are already talking about those things? Those can be interest groups that you have inside Facebook, videos that are already in YouTube that are already talking to that same audience and that same problem. But you come in with a completely kind of different thing that's not, you overlay on a video that where the educator is talking about maybe some sort of thing that they solve through a different medium than you, right? You are coming in with X medium, they have a different medium, and it can blend in really nicely. Like, you don't want to put a YouTube video ad over, like, you don't want to put a webinar software video ad over a webinar platform video, because they're competing. And unless it's really strategic, like, hey, you're going to be watching a Zoom video in 1 second, I just want to let you know that Zoom is not the best platform for you if you're trying to generate sales and revenue in your company. Zoom is a meeting platform, but if you're ready to join a platform that was designed for sales and marketing, click here. You could do something like that over more, like a Zoom video, right? And target those. But again, the best way to do it is oftentimes find someone who talks to your audience and have your video as a pre-roll ad before they talk to that audience, or a mid-roll ad whilst they're talking to that audience. So, okay. This is the last question I'm going to answer, and then you guys can let me know what you think about all the business that I just shared. How do I establish trust and social proof when I've only had a few clients? How do I know if my pricing is right? Oy, okay. So, if you've had a few clients, then that's all you need, right? Go back to those clients and ask those clients to shoot you a video, a testimonial video, case study video about where they were before they came to work with you, and where they are now, right? And pricing, by the way, just to get clear on what pricing is based on results. So let's say that you're helping someone lose weight. Well, you've helped them lose weight in 30 days, but what's the benefit of the result that they're achieving, right? Well, now after 30 days, this person was able to find the love of their life, or have they've had this enough self-respect to quit the job they were in, find a better job with higher pay, and finally find the love of their life. So that, if that's the result that someone has achieved from working with you, you tie that back into your price. Like, what is being able to generate 35% more revenue in the year, find the love of your life, feel better about yourself, and live life on your own terms worth, right? So that's basically how you should be pricing your products. Okay. Think about what people are already achieving. Use that as a barometer to push out. And then if you're really trying to figure out pricing, you can always survey and go through a pricing, kind of A/B testing pricing and things like that. Changing your offer around on different things, like, obviously, if they're going to go through a model where they're doing the work, you're going to charge less. If you're going to be coaching somebody or mentoring them, you're going to charge much higher prices. Maybe, you believe in their business and they can grow, and maybe you want to create a model where you charge X but then you also, any revenue generated through their company, you get a percentage. There's different ways to price. So you should think about what your offer could potentially look like, and go from there. And think about the type of audience and client you want. Sometimes pricing is a really good way to siphon the right audience to you, right? Obviously, it's about, like, you have to qualify your audience a bit. So pricing is a qualifier, and so think about how you can have your pricing be a qualification tool in talking and establishing the right clientele. Okay, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this live stream. And again, as I said, you can talk to us in the chat, ask questions, and again, if you want access to a webinar playbook framework that's valued at $500, and this framework is intended to drive and adopt more sales revenue and customers, then be sure to DM us, or put it in the chat below, or put in this chat, in this comment section for this particular video, that you're interested, and we'll send you access to an invitation to a webinar. So we'll see you there. Thanks again, everybody. I'll talk to you soon, and have an amazing